Let's get to all of that with former State Department official David Fury and former National Security Council Chief of Staff Fred Fleitz. Welcome back to both of you.
Thank you.
I want to play something from Jake Sullivan talking about the Iran deal. This is part of the White House press briefing today.
If there is an Iran nuclear deal that meets the standards the president has set to verifiably block the pathway of Iran to get to a nuclear weapon, we will do that deal because we believe it is in the American national security interest to do so.
You've written a piece in the Federalist that rips this potential deal apart. You don't have anything good.
$7 billion payment in cash. But look, China, the worst thing of all is our relationship with Middle East nations is already in terrible shape. This is going to cause it to deteriorate. It's going to push the Saudis and the UAE and other nations closer to China and Russia. And we're going to take the Iran Revolutionary Guard off the state-sponsored terror list if they promise not to attack Americans. It's unbelievable.
Well, a Wall Street Journal opinion piece talks about some of those tough relationships. The headline is "A Crisis in U.S.-Middle East Relations." They say when the leaders of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates decline phone calls from the president of the United States, rebuff his request to help lower oil prices, and shy away from condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and when the UAE hosts Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad in Abu Dhabi, there is no doubt that a major crisis in U.S.-Arab Gulf relations is underway. Your thoughts, David?
Well, the rift between the U.S. and our Gulf allies, especially Saudi Arabia and UAE, is concerning, and it's something that needs to be mended. Part of the reason for the rift, of course, is because the Biden administration is pursuing a nuclear deal with Iran. Republicans and Democrats are in agreement that we need to contain Iran and make sure that Iran does not develop nuclear weapons. That's the number one priority. And where there are some differences on how we will accomplish that. The Biden administration is pursuing a new Iran nuclear deal. We haven't seen the terms of that deal, and I would say that we should wait until we see the exact terms. I also have concerns about removing IRGC from the terrorist list. IRGC does more than just kill Americans. It shouldn't be killing Americans, and we should demand that they stop that. But we should also demand that they stop interfering in the territorial integrity of other countries and killing other people who are friends, including people in the Gulf states that are our allies. So hopefully the Biden administration is going to make progress on both a good deal that's going to constrain Iran and fixing our relations with the Gulf countries, because we need them for lots of things, including increasing oil production in order to support what we're trying to accomplish in Ukraine.
Well, one of the main concerns a lot of folks have is that Russia is at the table negotiating this deal. At the same time, we're all saying, the international community, most of us saying they need to be kicked out of the international polite society. So, Fred, what about that?
We actually put Russia in charge of this deal because the Iranians would not sit down with us to negotiate it. And under the agreement, and this has been widely reported, Iran will turn over its enriched uranium to Russia, and if a future Republican president pulls out of this deal, Russia will give that enriched uranium back. This is a way to punish a future Republican president. And I might add the fact that the Iranian and UAE heads of state will not talk to the president of the United States because he has bungled Middle East policy so badly and wants to make a deal with Iran that will lift sanctions on an Iranian terrorist organization. I mean, I don't see how our Middle East policy could be going worse. This deal's a disaster. There's bipartisan opposition to it. My hope is it will be killed.
Well, meanwhile, the brutality continues in Ukraine. And David, the reports that we're getting and the images we're seeing, the stories that we're hearing are absolutely horrific. What now?
Well, Russia is stalled in accomplishing all of its goals, and this is one of the things that Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, talked about. They haven't been able to subjugate Ukraine, and they haven't been able to become stronger as a result of this effort. In fact, they're weaker. Reports suggest that they've lost 10% of their combat troops already in Ukraine. They're suffering a lot of losses. They've even lost towns that they gained, including a suburb around Kiev, which has ensured that Kiev can continue to get support, both in terms of humanitarian support and military supplies. The Ukrainians are getting a lot of effort and support from NATO allies, and the fact that Russia is not able to counter that and cut off supply lines means that Russia is going to suffer much more significant losses on the battlefield in the future. That's why Russia is resorting to desperate tactics, including using hypersonic missiles and targeting non-combatants and civilians. And that's what's really, really concerning about this situation. I'm here in Poland. There are lots of refugees coming out of Ukraine into Poland. They already have more than 2 million refugees here, and I expect there's going to be further mass exodus of people as Russia resorts to laying siege to cities, attacking civilians, killing civilians in order to do a terror campaign against the people because they can't defeat the Ukrainian fighters because the resistance is too strong.
Yeah, they are standing firm and standing strong. And I'm glad that you're there seeing the work in Poland as well. I know you're a part of that. Fred and David, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Good to be here.